Jason, as it is every week, Lee Summit Town Hall is brought to the people by our good friends at Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds!
How can you not like those people?
They are, as they say, they're good eggs.
They are. They're good eggs, good people. Jason, coming up is a really cool event at Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
It is Pillows and Pinot. You get an opportunity to design your own fabric for custom pillows, drapery, Roman shades. You can bring in whatever you want, work with their fancy digital fabric tool, which, by the way,
It is pretty fancy.
I didn't even know existed until not that long ago, that there were digital fabric tools that you can make your own custom fabric. So you buy a pillow, you pay $50 for the guest, you get the pillow, and wine and snacks and all kinds of good stuff. You can bring in like color swatches or other fabrics or things for matching ideas and just go crazy and make yourself a cool pillow.
It's like a wine party, and you get something cool for your house when you're done.
That is the way it works.
Awesome. Can I tell you a little secret?
What's that?
I was talking to the good folks at Budget Blinds of Lee Summit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think the wife and I, we might get a little sneak peek at the fancy digital about making some pillow fabric.
So you're going to get that before the event, which, by the way, it's May 24th, 6 p.m.
I might get a sneak peek.
That is very cool. See, these are the advantages of being a big-time media guy like you.
That's true. And if you want to join in the Pillows and Pinot event, check out the Facebook page for Budget Blinds of Lee Summit. They've got an event page there, or you can click on their ad on link2leesummit.com and buy your tickets right there. Go see our friends, Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Tell them Nick and Jason sent you.
Hubert Neth, the Reverend Emeritus for the City of Lee Summit. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me.
I joke a little with the title, but you have been around Lee Summit for 30 plus years. Is that correct?
That's right.
You've had a role in several churches. You've been a minister for the Methodist churches here.
Mm-hmm.
When did you come into Lee Summit?
Came in 1987. I don't, we're appointed by a bishop. I really had no desire to come here. And I think people had no desire much for me to come here. Also, they had a really fine pastor who'd been here 10 years or so. In fact, he still lives here. We had an autocratic bishop who thought, when I say go, you go. So he went and I came. People loved him. They didn't know me much. I've been real lucky. Lee Summit's been really good to me.
What's that like coming into a community and it's, you have a relative position of authority. I mean, you're the head of a church, of a congregation. What's that like? I mean, I'm sure you were fairly young at that point. So, I mean, what's that coming into a community and you don't know anybody, but this is your, I don't want to be too cliche, but this is your flock to lead.
Mm-hmm.
How is that coming in?
Frightening. Yeah, it's... well, of course, I'd done it before a few times, so you kind of begin to know how to anticipate. The first thing you do, and I think the major thing you do, is you hit the streets. You go to Neighbors at 8. You go to the hospital either here or over town or both every day. You go to the ball games at night, and you sit where the people sit.
Well, that kind of, I guess we might be rolling backward a little bit, but that kind of makes me think, and my follow-up is so what really is your role? What is the role of a minister, of a pastor in a community? Is it just within the walls of that particular church, or do you see your role as something broader?
No, it's not. You better get out of those walls. It's being there's fans. It's being available to people where they are. It's going to them. It's trying to listen more than you talk, which we're not good at. We're talkers by nature. And you try to sense needs, accept people where they are. And I think a great word for it is that old tired word, the Quakers picked up on it, friend. They call themselves a society of friends.
So what's your approach there if you are going to make friends as you come into a community, or even as you continue to serve a community over a span of 30, 40 years? What's your approach then to being a friend?
Well, first you listen, then you build trust. They find out you're available, that you are interested in them where they are. And I don't even like the term helping people. I don't really like that term, because that's kind of I'm going to do something for you. And I find every encounter, every visit is a helping each other visit. I'm helped by everybody I meet. So I don't just go to help you. We are there to help each other.
What do you get out of it then? What's your? And I don't mean that to sound.
No, that's a great question.
But I mean, but how is that returned to you?
I'm helped. I just visited yesterday, and I went, well, maybe I will look and she wouldn't care. A woman who's in Lenora, 3 brain surgeries. Can barely talk, but's getting better. But every time I go see her, I don't do much for her. She sure does something for me. She gives me strength. She gives me resilience. She gives me a kind of a feeling that, my gosh, you can go on. You can do this. You can make it through this day. That's a great gift. I've been given more by folks like her than I could ever repay.
Is that from the sharing of story, of emotion? Is that the back and forth that you're talking about?
Or it's just the being there. It's the look in her face. It's that whole mystery that gets us up.
Well, and to stay on a bit of a broad topic, because I think we're talking. Well, if it's spiritually, can I say 30,000 feet, or do I need to go bigger? But we're a broader topic. So when we talk about service, and service, whether it's service to community, service to your congregation in a faith sense, what is it that draws you to service? I mean, obviously, at some point early in your life, you had, if you want to say, calling, or you realized that was your path. So, what is it that made you want to find this that you're talking about?
Is it motive? Are you asking motive? Are you asking?
I think motive is part of it, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. You get that question. Tell me about your call.
I'm not sure I like that word. And I don't want to make this show about me at all, but I don't know if I like that word.
I'm not crazy about it. I think you see needs, and you have gifts and interests, and you try to bring them together. I mean, I'd like to say, if you have a flat tire, you don't need a minister, you need a good tire changer. And that's a ministry as much as what I do.
how does that translate then, the difference? And I really like where you're taking me here. How does that translate to, you've gone out in the community and you're making friends? And by the way, I'm really going to steal that. I love that analogy. To say then you're at a pulpit and you're in front of 50, 100, 200 people. Does your message, does your tone of conversation change?
No, you're talking to 300 people one at a time. I like to say about sermons, they have no meaning till they're heard, until there's some point of contact between interest and need, and it's just another way to help each other. And you never repeat. Oh, you say the same words. I used to do 3 services in the morning, and they'd say, you're going to do the same sermon? And I'd say it's impossible, because number 1, I have a whole different group. Number 2, we've all lived an hour longer, so our experience isn't quite the same. There is something I like very much when I listen to an album, to listen to a live concert. Now, it may not be as polished, but there's something about being face-to-face with a live crowd that creates a dynamic you can't quite get in a studio.
Are your, and I have a great affinity for speeches and speechwriters, and so I think we can relate a little bit when you're talking about a sermon. When you would do 3 sermons a Sunday, is it written out and you're following along, but you're changing a little bit based on your interaction with the audience, with your congregation?
Once I wrote out, I don't anymore, and I probably should. I kind of do it. I do some preparing, believe it or not, but and this is going to sound, I kind of take my cues out there in the air someplace. I watch.
Is that a learned skill over the years?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Also, can you teach it? Maybe. I'm not sure.
When you're in a congregation, when you're not at the pulpit,
yeah,
what do you look for in a minister, in a faith leader? What are the things that I don't know if appeal to you is the right word, but what are the things that maybe inspire you and that you want to find in a faith leader?
I want to see somebody alive. I want to see somebody or listen to somebody who uses a language that I can understand, that doesn't talk in some specialized language called religious. I don't want him to use all the right religious words. I want him to use my language. I want him to, I guess I want to feel like he understands me a little and is willing to help me think and feel and wonder.
That's interesting to me, in that, what is that balance then, as you, and I think I'm asking you this both as one who has preached and as one who's sat on the other side. I want both your perspectives on this, but is that an odd balance, because a Christian faith is based on a very old text, and so the words are what the words are. So how is that balance made of using the religious language based on language that, not even just today's cultural language, but just I don't even know how to say that more. A more human? Is that?
Well, it's all right. It's not too good a word. It's a great word. I shouldn't have said that because it's...
I'm not sure how to explain what I want to ask you.
Words on a page are dead. They're words. Somebody says, I believe in God. They haven't told me anything. Because God's a word on a page. Bring that word off the page. When you say it, what do you mean? What do you mean in your experience? What do you... It's a word. That's... Bring that story to life. Bring that story, you got a collection of books written in over 1,000 years of every different genre almost. Bring that story to life.
Well, let me ask you then.
Sure.
When you say you believe in God, how do you make that come alive? How do you then say what your belief is?
Okay, of course, what I say is not as important as what you say. I want to say something that helps you say what you mean. And maybe me saying that, I'd start with words like wonder. It's that dimension that causes me to wonder, to ask, okay, here's a sperm and an egg that got together and created a mystery. And that mystery we call an image of God.
You are, and we haven't talked about this yet, but you are a man of words. You are a writer. You are a preacher. I love this part of this conversation because I like how you are somebody of words, but you're saying you've got to make the words sing. It's got to be more than just something that was written down once. And the intent is as important as the word itself. Mm-hmm. Is that, am I on point?
No, I think so, yeah. Well, here again, it isn't a word until you've heard it and filtered it through your experience. When I say the word God, that almost automatically sparks something in you, something, some experience, some, I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff, something. If we can connect your experience with whatever the reality is together.
That seems to me, and again, let me know if I'm off there. I think what you're saying too is that looking for that connection and that intent from both parties leads to a much broader vocabulary. Yeah. And it allows you to reach for more and better words as you're trying to share with each other. Am I?
No, I think that's, yeah. And we don't have of course, and I think I wrote it not long ago maybe, we don't have a common language, which is too bad. The old Genesis story said we kind of wanted one, and we're told, that'd make us like God if we all talked the same language, but we wanted the power and control. So you got the old Babel story, and we babble. We haven't had a common language since evolution stole our tails. So once when we could wag our tails, everybody tended to understand the common language. Now language is, there's so much, you're a live mystery. who uses words to express who you are and what you think I am and what you hope, what's important to you.
Are there words that you love? Are there words that you return to when you're wanting to pass a message along?
Well, you've already heard me use some of them. I like the word wonder. I like the word mystery.
Are there words you'd like to erase from conversations about faith, about religion, about the church and the community?
Well, if not, maybe not erase, but translate. Translate into something that means something. You say the word, well, take a religious one like salvation. I move in some circles where if you say salvation, they say, what's that? So it's a dead word. It's no...
I have an image, when you say salvation, I have an image of someone with broken chains, a set-free type of image.
Mm-hmm.
What
it's
image?
It's the old saved image. It's the old lost and found image, which is all right.
Well, and how many of us do hum Amazing Grace at that point?
Yeah, that's... You've already translated it.
Well, I'm curious what image comes to your head, if that's one you want to change that translation.
Salvation, I think it's... maybe direction, maybe a sense of, I kind of know where I am now. I kind of know who I am now. I kind of know where I come from and where I'm going. And it was all, if you want to use the term lost, that's all right. I was really lost, really, really lost. And now maybe to use the old Amazing Grace language, maybe I kind of been found, or maybe I was blind, and now I kind of, I see. I see.
It's interesting to me, and I don't. I hope I'm translating correctly, but it's interesting to me that my response and image of that word was more of an end point, where it seems yours was more inclusive of a journey,
a beginning point, or a new, yeah.
It wasn't just one point on that timeline. It seemed like you were encompassing the entire timeline.
Yeah, no question about it. It's not something you market exactly. It's I've heard one too many where somebody says, okay, you accept Jesus and you get salvation and you get eternal life. And I say, that's a great product. And the most beautiful thing about it is I'll never find out the value of it if it has any or not until it's too late. Yeah. So, boy, you're selling something that if I buy, you're off the hook, because I won't know whether it worked or not until it's too late to find out whether, it matters to me of a transaction. You're selling and I'm buying, and here's my ticket.
So if and I'm gonna play off your ticket analogy there. Are you asking people in your congregation? Are you asking friends that you meet? I'm going to keep going back to that. Then are you asking them to get on board, to join you on a train trip, or is that too much transaction?
Well, now that you ask it doesn't sound as bad.
Well, I'm here to make you look good.
Of course. I guess that's all right. If you want to say let's go together, that's all right. Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a leader?
There's another word.
Well, and I asked because I asked you if you were saying get on board. Mm-hmm. And to me, I was picturing you as more of a position of authority, but you said let's go together.
Yeah.
And that is imagery of more equals. And so my question is, as a minister, as a reverend, do you consider yourself a leader? Do you have a position of authority?
Not much. Not much.
So what is the difference between you, who stands at the pulpit, and those that sit in the pews?
None. That's an easy question. None.
Different jobs?
Oh, yeah, maybe different. Yeah, that's okay. Different pieces in the puzzle, maybe. That's really a good question. And I've about answered it the only way I know to answer it. I mean, we're both, to use your word from a good bit ago, human. We're being human. Homo sapiens. We're creatures. Kind of together before or in the presence of whatever it is that created us. The mystery and the wonder, and yeah.
Do you find yourself ever trying to define that mystery? Do you feel like sometimes you need to define it? Or do you revel in the fact that it's not defined?
Oh, both. That's another good question, because people want answers, and they deserve answers, and they deserve definitions. I'm not too good at it.
Are you better than you were?
No.
Do you get better?
Not much. I like to say every morning I wake up and discover something new that I don't know. And that's kind of true. That's part. And I think there's a place for my kind of creature. But if somebody says to me, well, I was a part of your faith community, but now I'm a part of this one because it makes more sense. They have more answers. That's fine. I'll be a little sad, because I hate to see you go. But that's fine. The beauty of the whole religious dimension in this country is, if it has any, the doors swing both ways. We come and we go.
We've gone about 5 different directions that I did not plan on going, and I love this. I want to ask this question as a follow-up to that. In your mind, is religion, and for you it's Christianity, is it about finding answers, or is it about finding the questions?
Well, you have to find the questions first. I don't want to spend my time answering questions that you don't ask, that you don't care about. You got to find the questions first.
What are the questions you find yourself asking?
Oh, anymore. Maybe always, what's it about? What's it? I don't, what's this thing called being alive that we didn't ask for? We didn't raise our hands and say, hey, I want to be born. We're here. How do we invest it? What do we do with this time and energy? And I don't think I'm trying to be, because I really do ask that, and when you get old, you don't have much time. So you do think more about, I held a dead baby the other day, born dead, full term. And I used to think when you got old, you understood that more. I don't.
Does that question drive you?
Yeah.
Is it a drive to find the answer or a drive to accept that maybe there's not an answer?
Well, it's both.
And I think I'm probably feeding you some of my own questions, but
It's both. It's trying to find. Here again, it's sounding it's kind of walking together toward an answer or something that gets us through till dark, and accepting that there is. I mean, take one of the plainest ones. You walk away from the grave and you say, why am I walking away? And he isn't. That's kind of a heavy one.
And I think that's a question that I think all of us at one or more points in our lives are going to have that moment and that question in our head. And I think why is probably the center word for everything we've talked about.
I could, of course, you've hit my buttons, but people say, well, it's all a matter of choices. Everybody has, you are what you choose. Everybody has choices, as if we all had the same choices, which drives me crazy. You take somebody who happened to be born in an urban ghetto. Does that person have the same choice as somebody who's born
in the neighborhood surrounding this church where we sit?
Yeah, exactly. Are you telling me they have the same choices? I was over in Northeast a year, and the part-time kind of volunteer secretary at the church taught at Don Bosco. Really a good teacher and a good person. She says, I have students that I really ought to pass just for coming to school and staying awake. Because if you've been in their home, if you know their lives, choices is getting here a day. I mean, that's about all the choices they have. And some people's choices and options are so limited that to stand up and say, well, you just made the wrong choices. That's one of my favorites, so I slipped it in. You can edit it out. Whatever you want to do with it.
I like it, and I want to kind of wrap things up on a little lighter note, because I feel like maybe we've gotten a little heavy and deep, and I want to keep what few listeners I've got. But you've allowed me to delve into some things that I really enjoy, and personally this has been great. But let's get back and stay on the theme, though, of words.
Okay.
You are a writer. You have written poetry for years. They've been published, I think still published in the Lee Summit Journal. I know you did. We had when I was at the Journal, and I know you used to read and do some of that when we used to do an awards program long ago. Who are some writers that you enjoy? Who puts words on paper that you enjoy, that feed imagery to you?
Most of them are dying. Everybody has their generation.
Right.
If I named, they would really be. And we talked a little about music. Most of them are dying. It's amazing, that breed of musicians, that age. Almost every day I hear, somebody died who I listened to all my life.
You mentioned before we started recording, Bob Dylan, who I can maybe say is one of the best writers I've seen.
Yeah, I think so.
What is it about Dylan's music and honestly his poetry with notes? But what is it about his words and the things that he pens for you? How do you relate?
Connects to something in my experience to a question or a path, or he brings a person to life and a situation. He has an amazing, he does not answer very often. He went through quite a religious period where I heard him during that period, but he's always out there somewhere. You never quite know exactly who he is. And that's part of the draw, the interest, or where he's going, or that's enough. That's it.
Well, thank you, Hubert, for sitting down with me. And if people want to make friends with you, you're at Grace United Methodist in Lee Summit. And thank you. Good luck, and I hope you keep making friends.
Thanks very much.
Today's episode of Lee Summit Town Hall is brought to you by Shred KC. Jason, I'm not going to talk about me this time. It's going to be a little weird.
That's got to be painful.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about me this time. Here's what I am going to talk about. Coming up, starting June 17th, they've got another big challenge coming up. It's the 60-day team challenge. So you sign up. They stack the teams. You don't have to worry about forming your own team. They're going to do it anyway. There'll be a max of 2 males per team. And the team will work together to motivate each other, to encourage each other, to inspire each other, to reach all of those fitness goals. I think this is really cool. I really like, Jason, what they do, all these different ways to keep people motivated and to change lifestyles. That's the point.
I know they like, it's like this inherent niceness with one another, which is a nice bit to have, given what we've been talking about recently. Well, you get unlimited classes for those 60 days. So there's like 25 different options a week. You get workshops, 2, not 1, but 2 3D body scans, which to me sounds like some sort of horrible piece of objective self-reality that I don't want. But I understand what
it's the scariest part of everything.
Yes. You get a trainer or a coach for your team. You get all kinds of tools to work together, even though these people you weren't necessarily there. There's challenges. If you reach your goal, you get a part of your feedback. And
are you ready? The big prize?
The big prize.
What is it, Jason? What is it?
The top team gets to go to Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby. So, hey, look, this is a lot of fun. You get unlimited classes. The meal plans change every week. Your menu changes every week. So this is cool. If you're ready, if you want another way to stay motivated and to get to your
I know it's hard.
dreams.
It's hard to fitness on your own. You really do. It's better if you have like a buddy or somebody to help you with the
squat up, baby.
Yep. So
go to Shred. Hit
60dayteamshred.com.
That's the one. Tell them Jason and Nick sent you. You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with hosts Nick Parker and Jason Norberry. A proud member of the Fredcast Network, you can subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.